Brinjal, an important vegetable crop, but its production can go down if it is affected by bacterial wilt, which is a very serious disease of brinjal. In today's video, we will be discussing about bacterial wilt and its management practices. If you are a brinjal grower, then this video is absolutely for you. Namaskar and welcome everyone to another new episode of ICAR NEH podcast. I'm your host Rachita, and today we have with us Madam Dr. Tasvina, scientist of plant pathology at ICAR NEH Meghalaya. Stick with us until the end because we will be discussing about various aspects of this disease, starting right from its spread to its management practices, which is very much crucial, to the conditions where it is favorable to grow. And let us now welcome Madam Tasvina. Well, good morning, ma'am. Welcome to the podcast.
Good morning and thank you.
Ma'am, I think before knowing about the management practices of the disease, it is very much important to know the background of the disease as well as about the pathogen that causes the disease. So, ma'am, can you please explain to our farmers that what exactly is bacterial wilt of brinjal?
Yeah, that is a very good information to share. Dear farmer friends, bacterial wilt of brinjal is caused by a soil-borne bacterium, Ralstonia solanacearum. So once this bacterium infects the plant, it clogs the vascular bundles, the vascular system, and because of the clogging or the nutrient and water from the roots is not transported to the other parts of the plant, the stem, the leaves, and from where the food is prepared, it is not transported to the other parts of the plant. So there is a permanent wilting, and when we see that eventually this wilting, the permanent wilting is there, then there is eventually the plant die off. Initially, the main symptom is the sudden wilting, because when we see in the field, the plants are quite healthy in the morning, but by evening or afternoon, the plants show the wilting symptom, and then this become permanent, and then the plant die off. So another thing we can see, when the infected plants are cut at the stem, we can see that the vascular bundles are having a brown discoloration as well as milky bacterial ooze come out.
Okay. So, ma'am, I think as you mentioned that it blocks the vascular system. Ma'am, it sounds pretty devastating because the vascular system is a very important system of the plant, isn't it?
Yes. So that is the main transportation of the roots absorb the water and nutrients from the soil, and then this is transported to the other parts of the plant, like the green leaves where the food for the plants is prepared through photosynthesis, and that's what, when it is blocked or clogged, then this prevents the transportation of water and nutrients to the other plants of the parts of the plant. So it becomes very devastating.
Yes, true. All right, ma'am. Moving to the next question. What exactly causes this bacterial wilt in brinjal and how it spreads from one plant to another plant?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, as I have already mentioned that this bacterial wilt is caused by the soil-borne bacterium, that is Ralstonia solanacearum, and it enters the plant through wounds and natural opening. Okay. So once it enters the plant, it gets an entry to the plant, it clogs or blocks the vascular bundle system, it infects there, and like you see, when any wound is caused in the roots or any natural opening is there, the bacteria gets an entry to the plant. However, many a times the nematodes also cause injury to the roots, and they let the bacteria an easy entry to the plants, as well as while moving from in the plants also we might sometimes damage the base soil, the base of the plant near the soil line. This also gives an easy entry to the bacterium, and like this bacteria survives in the soil, water and plant debris. So when irrigation water is contaminated with this bacterium, and it flows from the irrigation water, when it flows from one field to the other, it carries the contamination or the bacterium, and the plant gets infected. So otherwise, many a times what happen, when the workers can carry this bacterium in the soil adhered to their shoes.
Okay.
So this also get transferred from one infected field to the next healthy field. So like this, the bacteria is transmitted from one healthy plant to the other, and from one infected field to the other infected field.
Yes, ma'am. Truly saying that this
Yeah.
bacteria is very notorious,
Yes.
and we really need to take some good precautions and some good
so that
management.
we can control it
Yeah.
in the same infected field, and it does not spread to the other healthy fields, like through water, irrigation water, or plant debris, or like even another thing we should take care of is that, like infected seedlings, already infected seedlings also increase the disease intensity.
Okay.
So we should be careful that the same land is not cultivated with infected or solanaceous crop for a long duration of time, so that the bacterium is already there in the soil, and it can be carried over to the next crop. Okay, so we should be careful in containing the spread of the disease from one plant to the other, or from one infected field to the other healthy plant fields.
Yes, ma'am. Really a very good point. We
Yes.
should mainly focus on controlling the spread of this disease.
Spread of the disease.
Yes.
Yeah, through irrigation water or plant debris or movement of soil, contaminated soil, or like infected seedlings.
Yes, true, true. Ma'am, as you mentioned earlier that the pathogen spreads through soil, water and pests as well. But ma'am, I'm also curious to know that under what conditions does this disease get very much severe in the brinjal field?
Yeah, this bacterium thrives very well under the temperature range of 28 to 35 degrees centigrade. Then when soil moisture is high, sufficiently high, it promotes the bacterial growth. Then as again, this bacterium is also survives for longer duration in the light sandy soil, and when the field is continuously cultivated with solanaceous crops, the infection build up year after year.
Oh, okay.
So in these conditions, the bacteria thrives well and survives for a longer duration.
That's absolutely a right
Yeah.
point. So ma'am, I'm curious to know about another thing, that because our farmer friends are watching us, so can you explain them that exactly how can they identify this disease in the field?
Yeah, that's the main point they should emphasize or look into. Like when this disease initially can be recognized as like the wilting is sets in when the leaves are very green.
Okay.
Because in the morning hours, when our farmer friends, they visit the field, they will see that the plants are quite healthy, green in color, but the leaves are green in color.
Okay.
But then suddenly, with the increase in temperature, or by afternoon or evening hours, they will see that the plants are drooping off. The leaves are drooping. So gradually, as the infection builds up or increases, this wilting becomes permanent.
Okay.
And they eventually kill the plants, depriving of its normal function, physiological function. Then another thing is that the critical point is that they can check whether the plants are infected with this bacterium at the initial stage only. Like when the leaves are drooping off by evening, they can just cut the infected plant at the base of the stem, and then they can dip the cut plant or the stem in clear water.
Okay.
And after some time they can observe that milky, smoky like bacterial cells ooze out from the cut end of the infected stem.
okay.
So this is the confirmatory test that the bacterium is present in the plants that are infected.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
True. You also mentioned that about the symptoms that are highly noticeable to the farmers. Like
Yes.
by the evening, they can droop. Yes.
By afternoon onwards or by evening, they will see that the green leaves are only drooping off, and they can confirm it with the ooze test that we call as ooze test.
Yes, of course.
So they can cut the plant and then immerse the stem in clear water and observe for the ooze out of the milky bacterial cells.
Yes, our farmers can also perform the ooze test because it
in
sounds
the field
very
itself.
easy.
Yeah, in the field itself, they can perform it, and they can be confirmed that if their plants are infected by this bacterium.
True, very true. Ma'am, there is a very popular and old saying that prevention is better than cure. So in the context of bacterial wilt, how can farmers avoid the disease?
You said it very nicely that prevention is better than cure. So before we have to cure the plants, it's better that we take care of the plants beforehand, and we expect a good crop. So in that case, we should always look into it that we are using disease-free seed material. Okay, and we can also go for like resistant varieties which are resistant to this or tolerant to this bacterium, and likewise we can also go for proper drainage of the field area so that there is no water stagnation, as well as we can also always while preparing the field, we can go for beforehand we can go for deep plowing, and so that the soil is exposed to sunlight and there is sterilized little bit or whatever it is, there is solarization and sterilization of the soil.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, you mentioned really good points, but sometimes, ma'am, what happens that even if the farmers take the precautions, still they get the disease in their field. So in that case, what they should do next after getting the disease?
Yes, that is always there, that whatever care we take, we cannot totally eliminate the chance of getting this disease in the field.
Exactly.
So we again have to take care once we see the disease in the field. The first thing is that under cultural practices or whatever it is, we have to go for selecting the good quality seeds that is disease free. Then in the cultural practices, we can always maintain rogging out the infected plants. Once we see any plant is infected or showing symptoms like bacterial wilt, we should immediately rog out or remove that infected plant and bury it or destroy it at a distance. And then we can always restore to deep plowing of the field and not cultivating with solanaceous crops for a long duration, that is crop rotation. So we should always practice crop rotation for a longer duration with non-solanaceous crops. So these are the precautions we can take under cultural practices. Then coming to biological control, if the disease sets in, then we can always treat the soil or the plants, infected plants, and as well as the nearby healthy plants with biological control agents like Pseudomonas fluorescens or Trichoderma hygienum. And last but not the least, the ultimate thing would be if we cannot get good control of this disease with these practices, then we can lastly resort to cultural chemical control. So chemical control also we can do with organically permitted fungicides like the copper oxychloride. That is very much permitted under organic farming system, as well as bleaching powder. We can just drench the soil around the infected plant as well as the nearby healthy plants. so we can do that.
Okay, so
as a
ma'am,
last resort.
True. So ma'am, whatever the points you mentioned, starting right from the precautions to the biological control to the chemical control, I think ma'am, they all are practical for the farmers and they will be able to do it in field conditions.
Yes, they can very well practice with these management measures,
Yes.
so that they can raise a healthy crop.
Yes, true. Ma'am, you see that nowadays different institutions and scientific societies, they are talking about IDM, that is integrated disease management.
Yes.
So ma'am, how do they work for bacterial wilt in brinjal?
So actually, integrated disease management is a complete management decisions that are we take into account for holistic management of the disease.
Okay.
So in that case, right from selection of the seed, we should go for selecting the resistant varieties or the tolerant varieties, as well as we should also prefer that the seed materials are selected or collected from the sources which are known to be disease free. Okay, in the first place. Next, when we go for preparation of the nursery beds, then also we should be taking into account that the nursery bed is properly prepared, it is in raised beds, and it is treated with the biological control agents. The soil is treated with the biological control agents, so that there is the contaminants are minimized in the soil itself. Then next, when we go for transplanting it into the main field, we should take into account that this fields are not cultivated with solanaceous crops for a long duration, say for 2 to 3 years, and because when we go for a long duration crop rotation, then the chances of disease development, particularly the bacterial wilt of brinjal, is minimized. Okay. So because the pathogen is deprived of the food material and it cannot survive in that soil. So like this, when the main field is also disease free, we can immediately go for transplanting the nursery seedlings to those free or healthy main fields. Then in the main field, if somehow we see the disease is developing, as I told you, with the critical symptoms or the main symptoms like drooping of the leaves by evening hours, then we should immediately rogue out this infected seedlings or plants. Okay, and then we can very well go for proper drainage of the main field, so that there is not standing water or water logging is there. And then when we are again irrigating the fields, we should see that the irrigation water is also not contaminated with this bacterium or any other pathogens. And finally, we can also treat our main field crop with biofungicides, that is always permitted, and some permitted chemicals like copper oxychloride, we can go for treating the main at the main field if the plants are infected.
So ma'am, you have covered almost all the points about bacterial wilt of brinjal, and I think our farmers by now, they must be having an abundant knowledge that how to exactly manage this disease. But ma'am, still I would ask that do you have any other recommendations or suggestions for our farmers?
So this is a general recommendation only, or specific to bacterial wilt, if you say as such.
Yes.
Like for every crop disease or plant disease, we should take into account that we go for selection of the right seed material, that is disease-free seed material, which is known to be resistant or tolerant. Then as well as we should go for preparation of the nursery bed in recommended practices, so that we don't get the infection right in the nursery field. And then in the main field also, when we are going for transplanting, the field is like having crop rotation is practiced. Then the field is well amended with liming or bleaching powder if required to prevent the disease from occurring. And as well as we can always treat with the main field as well as the nursery with recommended biopesticides like Pseudomonas fluorescens or Trichoderma hirsutinum, and then as a last resort we can also restore to using permitted chemicals like copper oxychloride, as I have already mentioned. And above all, we should always keep our field clean, the clean crop cultivation practices should be recommended or practiced always.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, finally we have come to an end of this discussion. This bacterial wilt of brinjal can be very tough for the farmers, but with the right approach, with the timely action, with the smart practices, it can be easily managed, like crop rotation, clean farms, and use of the appropriate resistant varieties. So protect your brinjal, protect your yield, and fight bacterial wilt with field smart techniques. So thank you so much, ma'am, for being a part of this amazing discussion, and thank you to our viewers for tuning in. So until we meet again, keep practicing these healthy practices, and may your harvest be abundant. Thank you.
Thank you.